This is the inside of the Benimar Mileo 286. If I firstly move to the main control panel, I can turn the 12 volts on by firstly pressing this button here, followed by this button here. Once we've done this, we can turn the water pump on and off just here. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps. Flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's being drained down. We then have awning light on and off just here. And then if I move to the lower buttons, these mainly give us information. So this first one here will give us a condition of the leisure battery. And then this one here will give us a condition of the vehicle battery. This one will let us know how much water is in the fresh tank. When the waste tank needs emptying, a red light will begin to flash next to the waste tank symbol just here. When you are low on fresh water, an amber light will flash next to the fresh tank symbol just here. And if either of the batteries were very low, again you would get flashing indicators. This button here just controls the illumination of the control panel itself, so you can brighten it up and dim it down. This green light here is just letting us know that we're currently connected to mains electricity, and we would get an indicator light appear here when we start the engine of the motorhome to let us know that the alternator is charging both the vehicle battery and the leisure battery. To be able to view this indicator, these two switches do need to be on. Beside the main control panel, we then have the control for the Truma heating and hot water. At the moment, it's just displaying the time, and it's also letting us know that we have main supply connected. If I now press the button, you will now see that we have a series of icons, and as I begin to rotate this button, they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first little icon just here, this is for the heating. So if I now press the button, you'll see that the heating is off. And all I now do is just rotate and pick whatever temperature I would like it inside the motorhome, and it will go right the way up to 30 degrees. So once a temperature has been decided, press the button again to store it in, and you'll now see a little flame has just appeared above here. This little flame just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is in operation, the flame will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. If I now just move across to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water, and again if I now press the button, you'll see that hot water is off. And if I rotate, I can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of roughly about 40 degrees. Hot, which is roughly about 60 degrees. And then I can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want hot water very quickly. If you do perform the boost and the heating is running, the heating will turn off as it needs to use that extra power to do the boost. And again, the icon will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. After heating and hot water, we then have power source selection. So at the moment, to do both heating and hot water, I'm using, indicated by the two little lightning strikes just here, mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. If I rotate the button, I can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt. Very handy if we're on a low amp site to stop ourselves from tripping. If we have both power sources available to us, we can run in dual fuel, so on a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts, or a mixture of gas and mains at 1 kilowatt. These two settings are very handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly, and it will only consume gas as it's required. And then lastly, if we have no main supply, we can solely run on the gas. After power source selection, we then have the circulation fan for the heating. So we can either run the fan in eco or high. And if I now go and turn off both hot water and heating and return back to it, we can also use it to vent the motorhome, and it has a fan speed of 1 to 10. If I now drop to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer, and if I now click on it, we can set a start time, and then when we would like it to finish, and then once we've done that, we can then decide what we would like on within that time period. Lastly, timer on and off. If I now put the timer on, the timer icon will come up in the top corner there, and then within that time period, those settings would then apply. If I now return to it and I turn it back off again, when I go back, I can obviously then re-alter it. Next we have clock set. And then lastly we have the settings menu just here. So we have offset, which is just for the thermostat just there. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly adjust it. Temperature, just whether you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of this screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Language, index, more for the technicians, it just lets them know what software this is running. And then lastly, full factory reset. So from time to time, these control panels can throw up error codes. They will usually be something relatively basic. So if you're trying to run the system on main supply and you don't have any mains connected, or you've tripped, etc., it will let you know on the screen. The same if you're trying to run anything on gas and your gas bottle's turned off or depleted, again it will let you know. What will happen is a warning triangle will appear where my finger is, and then a series of numbers and letters will appear on the screen. If you then look in the manual or you Google it, it will tell you what the problem is. If it's something relatively basic that can be sorted out, once you have basically sorted the problem out, the error code will usually automatically disappear. If that doesn't happen, just go back to the warning triangle and double press on the button, and it will then usually say no error and then disappear. If that still doesn't work, if you still have anything running along the top here, just turn them all off, because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If you still have no joy, I always suggest the good old-fashioned turn it off and turn it back on again, and the way you do that is just by holding the button in until it says off. If when you turn it back on again you still have an error, I always then suggest just doing the factory reset, because sometimes that is all that is required. If I now just come to the bench seat just here and remove the cushions, you can now see the location of the Truma boiler itself. Tucked just here is the boiler's drain down valve. These particular valves are automatic, so if it's in the closed position and the temperature inside the motorhome drops below about 3 or 4 degrees, the valve will automatically open and drop all the water out of the boiler to frost protect itself. If you are going to manually drain the boiler down for winterization, firstly, always make sure that the water pump has been turned off. and then come to the drain valve and basically twist this blue diamond just here. You will see that a blue button will pop out at the bottom just here as it has now released, and all the water is now draining out of the boiler underneath the motorhome at this point just here. If you are fully winterizing, I always then suggest that you then also go around and open up all of the taps, leave them set in the middle, and then just open like so. This will release any airlocks in the system and help it drain down more efficiently. When it comes to refilling the boiler, reclose all of the taps. Make sure that the drain valve has been reclosed. So if I now twist and then press the blue button in to reset, fill up the freshwater tank, turn on the 12 volt, followed by the water pump, and then the pump will begin to refill the boiler. Let the pump run for a few minutes and then begin opening up the taps. They will cough and splutter as they force the air out of the system. Once they're running freely on both hot and cold, reclose, and then the system will fully reprime itself. If the boiler has just auto drained, all that will happen is the blue button will just pop out at the bottom, and all you need to do is just push it back in to reset it. If the blue button will not stay in, it's just too cold in the motorhome, and you will need to turn your heating on to generate some heat to allow it to reset. Also in here we have the battery charger. So this is what is charging both the leisure battery and the vehicle battery when the motorhome is connected to main supply. We then have the 12 volt fuses just here. So if anything is not working on 12 volt, just check to see if you've blown a fuse. The main fuse you can blow is this 20 amp fuse just here. This is the fuse for the electric drop down bed, and it will pop a fuse if you have too much weight on it, because it will protect itself. And then we have the main strip switches just here. So we've got the individual MCBs just here. We then have the main RCD and the test button just tucked up the top just here. So again, if anything's not working on main supply, just check to see if you've blown a fuse. Beside it, we then just have a storage compartment. Tucked just behind the driver's seat, just here, you will find a switch. This switch controls the tank heater in the waste water tank. So if you are using the motorhome in extremely cold climate and there's a danger of frost damage occurring to the waste tank, just turn this on. It will generate some heat and stop it from freezing. The freshwater tank does not have a heater in, as it is an internal tank, and if I now just remove these cushions I can show you it. So the freshwater tank just sits here. You can gain access into it by unscrewing the cap just here. We then have the water pump just there. To drop this section just here to allow both travel seats, you will find two levers just underneath, one here and one here. Just pull them both and then it will drop down. And then some more storage just here. If you are using gas for your heating or your hot water, you cannot open this window. If you do, it will automatically cut the boiler out and you will get an error code. The reason for this is that the flue sits underneath this window. So if I now just open it, you'll see that there is a pressure switch just here, which pops out and cuts the gas off to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Hob just here. So we've got the electric hot plate that will work when the motorhome is connected to main supply, and it operates just here, and the red light comes on to let you know it's in operation. We then have the two gas rings, and it's just a matter of pushing in, twisting round and pushing the igniter just here. And then beneath that is the oven and the grill. And again, if I now just push in, twist round and press the igniter, I can light the oven. And then go back to off, push in, twist in the opposite direction. I can then light the grill. Cutlery drawer just here, and also located in here are the gas isolation taps for the appliances. They're all in the on position, and quite frankly they can stay like that. I always say they're more for maintenance than anything else. If you do smell gas in the motorhome, go to the source and turn off the gas bottle. But we have the barbecue point just here. We then have the cooker and the hob, heating and hot water, and the fridge. Microwave just here. Always advisable to remove the microwave plate for travel. Like the hot plate, this will work when the motorhome is connected to main supply. We have up the top here, switch between microwave, grill or a combination oven. And then we have all the temperature settings, etc. all here, stop, preset, etc. And then we have quick start just here. Fridge freezer just here, on and off on the black square. This is an automatic model, so as long as it's on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently hooked up to main supply, it's put us onto mains with a little picture of the 2-pin plug just there. If I was now to run outside and pull the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas. And then as soon as we start the engine of the motorhome, it will then automatically go over to 12-volt maintain to keep the fridge cold whilst on the move. We can take it out of auto if we want to. Just hold the grey button down and you'll see it begins to flash, and then if we use the arrows we can then manually put it onto main supply. We can manually put it on to 12-volt maintain or manually select gas. Once we've decided what we want, press the grey button and then it will move across to the temperature control. Again, adjust to suit, press the grey button again, and as you can now see it's running on gas at level 3. If there's a problem, if I now just select 12-volt maintain because the engine's currently not running, you'll see it will continually flash and you'll get a red flashing light just here. good size fridge and freezer compartment. And then we also have the pull-out section at the bottom. Above it you'll find the digital amplifier for the MaxView TV aerial on the roof. You do not need to do anything with the aerial as it is a static 360-degree aerial. You can turn the booster on and off just at the bottom, and then on the dial just here you can control the boost, and then it's just a matter of popping a TV onto the bracket just here and then just plugging it all in and tuning it in up here. Solar panel regulator just in here. So you do not need to do anything with the regulator. It will just smart charge the batteries as it's required. You'll see there's a green light on at the moment indicating that it's in float mode, so both batteries are fully charged. Whenever it's popping a charge into a battery, the green light will go out and the amber light will appear at the charge point just there. If the fuse for the solar panel blows, the fuse light will appear, and it's just a matter of just removing this front cover and the fuse sits behind it. And if there's a major problem, the alarm light will illuminate above. PIR sensor for the alarm just here. As you can see, it will flash red every now and then if you press this button. This is just to make sure that it's all working. Reason being is because it's wireless and requires batteries. We then have the washroom just here. So we've got the toilet. So to open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever across and then make sure the water pump is turned on, and then the blue button here will flush it. To reclose, slide back. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody's left it open. Level indicator just here, so this will rotate round to red when the cassette needs emptying. We then have the basin just here, just gets the air out of the system. And then we have the shower cubicle just here, and do make sure that the shower screen is closed and secured for travel. We then have wardrobe space just here, exactly the same as what you'll find in the wardrobe in the toilet as well. Drop down steps just here, so you can gain access right to the back of this wardrobe. And if I just fold the steps back up again, we can then also gain access into the garage through this door. Above my head is the Fiamma turbo vent fan. To operate this, just rotate to open the roof vent. And then you'll see that we have a switch here which says in and out, so in for cooling, out for extraction. And then turn the fan on just here and then control the speed just here. Simple as that. We then have the electric drop down bed just here. To operate the bed, turn the key into the on position. But firstly, before doing this, make sure that you have unclipped it on the seat belt just here. Once you've turned the key, wait until the lights have finished flashing, and then you can begin to lower the bed. When you press the arrow, it will firstly drop down to the higher height for the ladder. And this will then allow you to have the other bed beneath it made. If you are going to drop the bed to its lowest position, I always suggest turning off the lights underneath to avoid any damage to the upholstery through scorching. And the switch is just here. And then just this one just here. So if I now just remove some of the cushions, and if I now press the button again, we can then drop the bed to whatever height we would like. And like I say, in its lowest position, it just drops shy of these lower cushions. Light switch just here. Once you press the up button, the bed will automatically begin to raise, and then in a moment it will then stop. And then once it's stopped, you can then continue to put it up just on the arrow button just here. And then once you're fully up, you'll see it will flash, and then you can then reconnect the seat belt buckle just here. To make the lower bed, you will need the boards from the garage. You will see on the boards that they have support legs. Just push across to the side, and then you can drop the support legs down. These boards then rest onto these sections just here. As you can now see, the boards are in place. And then it's just a matter of popping this cushion into this point just here, and then you will also have this infill cushion that then just drops in beside it. And once they're in place, you can see you have a very large double bed. If for any reason the electric bed was to fully malfunction, it can be wound up and down manually on this little winder just here. You can see it's basically like an Allen key. This locates, if I just run my hand across, at this point here there's a hole, pop that Allen key in and then begin to wind it, and you can wind the bed up and down. These lights just here have switches just tucked behind, and then we have USB charge points just here. As you can see, both seats rotate round, and they rotate just on the lever just here. They are then also height adjustable just on the two levers just here.